Alicia Youssef here and welcome. I am bringing you all the astrology and insights for the Leo full moon of this year. And it's happening at a really interesting degree. So I'm really looking forward to getting into the juice of that with you. But before we go there, today, Mercury moved into Aquarius, and there is this freshness of mind that comes back, and we're really now starting to pick up speed as it moves away from Capricorn, where it conjuncted Pluto and went retrograde, went direct. So Mercury's still in what we call its shadow. So there are still themes or messages coming through about whatever you've had to revisit over the past 4 to 5 weeks. So do expect to get some last insights or some new understandings or different perspectives on what you've been thinking about to kind of show themselves. And with Aquarius, it's just this sense of air sign, Mercury, just able to do its flow and messaging much better than in the heaviness of Capricorn. So get ready for ideas to flourish, communications to flow, learning to be peaked again. But in Aquarius, we're looking into unusual ideas or thinking outside the box to get new perspectives on where we're trying to solve problems. And I think as well, if one thing to remember with this is because Aquarius is a fixed sign, and yes, it's, this is Mercury now starting to come back into play with Uranus and Saturn, and where they've been squaring in the fixed signs all through 2021. And I don't know about you, but I even felt this latest, hey, they're not square, but the planets moving through were highlighting just how close these two still are in the sky. And let me show you this. Here we have Mercury right at that 0 degree mark, and we've got Uranus here at 11 degrees and Saturn now fair way past, but it's still within orb, that 6 degrees, they're still there. So the sun, just a couple of weeks ago was highlighting this and then Mercury's going to come through and highlight this as well, and it hasn't done that journey yet. It just got close to Uranus and then started going backwards again. So just be prepared for that coming up and what we're going to be thinking about in terms of, okay, where have we felt in that squash or a squeeze? I don't know if any of you have ever heard that children's story. Julia Donaldson rewrote it, but it's called A Squash and a Squeeze. And this man, he lives in a house that he thinks is too small, and he goes to a wise man and he says, what do I do? I feel like my house is really overcrowded and I want to think differently about it. So what do I do? So the wise man said, go and get your chicken and bring it into the house. And then he said, oh, it's even worse. It's even more crowded now. And so the wise man went, oh, okay, well, go and get your dog. And this went on, and the man got more and more frustrated, and, he was bringing in his horse and his cows until finally the wise man said, now, go and take them all out. And the man went, oh, suddenly I've got all the room in the world. And I think this is where Mercury in Aquarius, while it may not change the circumstance, it can change our outlook. It can change our mindset and help us see a higher view of things, especially today and tomorrow, while it's really close to that fixed star of Altair, the eagle's back. So do think about that in the days to come. Next up, finally, fixed sign. We can be a little bit too fixed in our thinking of things as well. And often it's like, well, I'm always having to boundary write, or I'm always having to think outside the box. And it's not necessarily the case. But, Mercury moves really quickly through here. So I don't think this is like something to watch out for a long period of time. But just be aware that we can become rigid in our thinking in this air sign, but not even realize it because we think we're being free-spirited or free-minded, but we can be too fixated on just that free-spirited, free-minded, and not see everything on the smorgasbord here. So from here, we have on Wednesday, tomorrow, we have the sun. And this is getting very close to this full moon here. As you can see, the moon, 17 degrees of Leo, moving close to oppose it. But meanwhile, the sun is forming a square to the nodes that recently moved into Scorpio and Taurus. So you can see here at 27, the sun is here. And that's actually going to be an important part of this full moon as well. So really, I'm going to talk about all of this energy over the next couple of days, but do be aware. So it's 7:08 a.m. here in Australia. So this is going to be Tuesday night, afternoon for much of the world. And there's a lot of messages, this is what's called the south bending, especially in horary, they use that term. And this is a lot of messages around what this current nodal cycle is going to be about, and specifically what you're going to be letting go of, or what you need to abandon, or what you actually need to actively neglect and let go of. And there is a sense of this where the square happens. And I love the way that Judith Hill talks about this as an evolutionary pole that we go up and down. I feel like it's actually a tug of war, but the squares, the nodes, the tug of war between the nodes and those nodal points of where am I driving towards, where am I letting go of, this push-pull. But when anything hits these square points, it's like, okay, well, let's shine a spotlight onto exactly what I can let go of, especially around personality, sense of identity, authenticity. It's an opportunity to shed what doesn't belong to you so that you can move forward further towards your life purpose, towards your spiritual soul's calling. So I really think, if we continue on with the full moon, so this is happening very early on Thursday morning here in Australia. It does show us a lot about what is possible when we let go of what we think has to happen, and we can be with what might happen or what could happen. I am not driving this bus very well today. Let me clear all of this off. So yeah, as we see here, 2:56 a.m. here in Australia. So this is Wednesday afternoon, evening in pretty much all of the world. And it's still here at this square mark of these nodes here too. So this is forming this very strong, very fixed energy. And I don't know, just my sense is it's a real tipping point day for all of us. And there's this, I found that Leo season last year, when all the planets were coming through Leo and opposing Saturn and squaring Uranus, there was a lot around authentic self and freedom for self and what is my place within the greater community. And almost that sense of, those here in Australia will understand this, the what about me, that song, It Isn't Fair, I've had enough and I want my share kind of energy of like, okay, what is it that we learned a lot of in that July, August period of time about our place within things, and how much is true and how much is protective mechanisms within us, how much is ego, how much is monkey mind, and how much we can push past or let go of to be with the truth of things. My sense is when we come from core self, which is when we let go of, and I'm talking about compassionately letting go of the monkey mind, letting go of our ego with understanding that it's just there to protect and support us. But when we can be in that place of detachment with this and let our core self shine through, we'll get quite different messages about what's right. What I see here is Saturn ruled Aquarius can be very logical and very much about what's reasonable, what's rational. Whereas the moon in Leo is like, what is your heart telling you is necessary here? And that's actually where your core self lies. When you can let go of the fear, when you can let go of the worry, when you can let go of the fear messages that are out there in the world, then we can understand way more about what our own heart is trying to tell us to do here. So that's my sense of what this full moon is really about. And when we're able to follow our heart more, it helps us travel up that evolutionary karmic path a lot more easily. And if we give in to fear, that's actually where we can be dragged back in or dragged back under. And I don't know, into those knee-jerk reactions instead of being deeply connected and self-chosen, arising in what we need to do. So follow those heart-based, warm glow of what the sun can do and what Leo can offer. And look, this is also the final tug of Aquarius energy too, in what has been playing out to be, you know, a pretty tricky period of time, really since Aquarius season last year as well. So I don't think it's going to be the loveliest of full moons in Leo. I think it's definitely easier than last year's. But I think there is still that tug of war in all of us. And when we're able to think from that higher evolutionary perspective of what's best for my spirit and the human race, and even above that, the universe, then we get a sense of, okay, these are better ways to inform and fuel my choices. And so much of this is going to be around values and value systems and morals and ethics, just because this is the way that both Aquarius and Leo work. Just look a little bit differently at their values, like they draw those values out of different places. But also what is happening that day too, which we can't forget, is that Mars has just overtaken Venus, still moving quite slowly after its retrograde all through December and January. And it's interesting because usually Venus is speeding way ahead of Mars, but right now these two are having this kind of dance off in the sky. And so Mars is kind of on this day as well, adding a bit of a prod and a poke to Venus, which personally I kind of like. I think Venus, especially in the cool darkness of Capricorn, does need a bit of a push to get warm, but it can come across as potentially feeling like we're in conflict, or there's some spiciness in our relationships. And this can be really good if you like a bit of spice in your relationships, but if you're more of a cool, calm, collected type, it just may be a bit itchy, scratchy. So just to be aware of that as well under this full moon too. So I think, full moons always bring up all the energy, and passionate Leo, it likes to bring a bit of drama. And then we've got the spice of these two meeting in the sky as well. So that's 12:28 a.m. here in Australia. That becomes exact, at least here in Brisbane. So that will still be Wednesday for much of the world as well. And these two remain very tightly configured, really right through until early April. So there's this very interesting connection between what we desire and what we're attracting, what we value and what we want, how we love and how we fight, all of this kind of in the same place, learning a lot from each other. I personally love the way that Venus can dampen down Mars, and I think we'll see this more when the two conjunct around that Pisces new moon in early March, but it is happening in Pluto, whereas this time around Mars is heating Venus up a bit and giving it a bit more lively and warm. Venus tends to sit and attract and draw things in, whereas Mars is like, right, come on, go after what you want more, sister. How can we go and get more what we want? So that is Thursday. So quite a busy day. I think we'll be feeling this Wednesday in Australia for sure, and a Wednesday for much of the world. But yeah, early hours of the morning on Thursday. Now, the next day we have Uranus receiving a sextile from Jupiter here at 11 degrees of Pisces. And it is so much about bringing out the inner rebel a bit, and especially around our belief systems. So you may find that with a little bit of work, if this is something you're actively trying to do on that day, you can get a lot of joy around looking at things from a different perspective, or meeting something that's different or unusual for you that helps broaden your mind or your horizon in a new way. I think it's also quite exciting for anyone going through Uranus transits to actively choose change on this day, and to use your dreams or your ideals for the future towards how this happens. Having these two quite soft signs of Pisces and Taurus connecting through this, it's just a sense of getting us ready actually for when Jupiter starts to move through Taurus in 2024 and its connections with Uranus then. So if you're trying to make change in your life and you're trying to harness Uranus's energy to be innovative, to have these new sudden breakthroughs, and look, even sudden strokes of luck with this, you know, Jupiter is that big Santa Claus energy, and this is like out of the blue, suddenly something really goes right. This is an opportunity for that to happen on that day as well. So try to not fix things too much on that day. See if you can go with the flow. It's exact at 10:12 a.m. here in Brisbane on that Friday. So that is Thursday or Thursday, Jupiter's day for a lot of the world. So really enjoying and making the most of that as you can too. And then, you know, as we see next day, we have the sun move into Pisces, and Pisces season starts. And this is really the beginning of bringing extra emphasis to whatever area of your chart you'll find Pisces. So have a look at your chart and your rising, work out where Pisces is, because from now really until the end of April, there's a lot of emphasis on Pisces and on Jupiter, as Jupiter comes up in mid-April to conjunct Neptune. Venus in early April starts to move in and join as well. We'll have Mercury move through here, of course, before then. But get ready for a lot of action to happen here. You know, Pisces is this beautiful, dreamy energy. And even the fact that here too, we have the two kings of the sky together. We've got the solar principle of the sun and the growth principle of Jupiter, here bringing this very intuitive confidence and a very emotive strength to us all, of this sense of, you know what, my faith has been tested over the past few years, and now I'm really seeing how it plays out, or how it can work, or where it can sit. And I think this will evolve all the way through until the beginning of May. So I don't think this is just going to be 1 month. This can be a lot of a period of time. And you know, if you don't know what I'm talking about in terms of which area of your life is being lit up, do go to my website and subscribe to my newsletter list to be able to get your Jupiter in Pisces guide, and know that, you know, the sun is bringing a spotlight to how your dreams and hopes and wishes can be lit up, or where you may be needing a little bit more oomph or pizzazz, you know, because I've personally found, and I've seen this through a lot of client consults, that the Jupiter-Neptune energy has been very laid back, I think is one way to put it. Somnambulant, sleepwalking is another way. It just hasn't been a lot of vim and vigor and get up and go. So perhaps with the sun moving through here might bring a bit more heat and energy. Maybe not though. Maybe this is just diving into the pool with the swim up bar to enjoy the party. And if that's what needs be, that's what needs be. I do think that all of Pisces season and then beyond is very emotional, and there's such catharsis when we allow our tears to flow. So being in that place, being in that stage, and look as well, right when the sun moves into Pisces, we have the moon in Virgo opposing Neptune too. So I think it will be quite that very watery day. And while a part of us will be like, right, how can we get things organized and systemized and analyzed? The rest of us is like, no, I'm checking out early today. I've had enough. So letting yourself be in that place if that's where you need to be as well. Now, we're pretty quiet from here on in. On Monday, we do have the moon moving, or sorry, on the weekend, we have the moon moving all the way through the end of Virgo. So I do feel like early Saturday morning is the time to get things done, make the most of the moon, especially as it just moves past Neptune. And then Libra is definitely socializing, connecting, having one-on-one conversations with friends, and just that getting into that light social energy that air of Libra brings. Love and beauty, of course. We do have late Monday night, or 7:19 p.m. here anyway, the moon moving into Scorpio. And that will definitely intensify the energy, especially now that we've got quite a lot of watery energy in the sky as the moon moves through Scorpio. We've got the sun, we've got Jupiter joining Neptune here in Pisces. So, and this is more than just that Cancer moon that happened earlier this week. This is quite full-on intense emotions. So watch the sad movies, let yourself have a cry over a situation, have a heart-to-heart with a good friend, someone you trust, or get into that place where you're really wanting to purge and clean things out, whether that's physically through doing a good spring clean, emotionally through some writing, mentally as well, journaling, things like that. And whenever the moon's moving through the fixed signs, of course, it's still bumping up against Saturn and Uranus too. So it isn't going to be the easiest ride, I would say, through Tuesday especially. Thursday, then, things are pretty quiet. We have Thursday or late Wednesday night here in Australia is when the moon then moves into Sagittarius, and that's when the uplift happens, feeling a lot better about life and about ourselves, and we can definitely feel that generous, adventurous, playful energy that Sagittarius brings and that expanded vision. On that same day too, we have some interesting connections between Mars and Venus to Neptune. So Mars, Neptune, I always see as compassion in action. And in general, just these two highlighting Neptune means that we're just more sensitive. I think Venus especially brings about the sensitivity to the needs of others. And I think we're also way more sensitive to beauty in the world. So putting yourself in an environment where you're coming across art or poetry or music will be really soothing to the soul. And Mars, perhaps it's actively creating this for others too. I always think of the way of the peaceful warrior when it comes to either Mars in Pisces or Mars around Neptune. And both of these are in what we call the closing sextile towards Neptune as they will start to travel through Pisces in the next few months. So there is a sense of, okay, what is it about this cycle with Neptune that the two are bringing? And what is it we kind of need to just do some last dusting offs or some last connections with before they start this especially Venus. I'm just loving Venus's travels around Neptune in late April. So today is an opportunity to think, right, what can I get done in that late April period of time? And then when Mars moves through here into May, that also will bring these through too. So what is it, however, that we can get done practically, Capricorn, and with a strong connection to tangibility around our dreams, that then at that period of time will put us in the right place where we can be just connecting to the etheric, connecting to the dream world and making the most of it. And I don't know, for those who have a creative bent, and no matter what this looks like, it could be writing, it could be dance, it could be painting, it could be cooking, whatever it is that brings something new, creates into the world, especially things of beauty, will be well rewarded on this day. And this goes through, of course, till Friday too. So the exact between Mars and Neptune is 5:11 a.m. on Thursday morning. And then 2:03 a.m. on Friday morning is Venus's sextile to Neptune. Of course, this makes it Wednesday, Thursday for the rest of the world. Also happening on Friday, which I'm quite looking forward to, is the first, as I was talking about earlier, of Mercury connecting with Uranus and Saturn. So at 12:21 p.m. on Fridays, this is Friday afternoon, Mercury will square Uranus, and now it's past its shadow degree. The retrograde is behind. It's got its speed back. And really, this is a day for those breakthrough ideas to come in. May have to push against things, or it may feel like others are pushing against us. And maybe where we meet situations of tension and go, okay, it's with challenges that breakthrough happens. It's with tension that I force myself to see something from a new place. So wherever you're trying to create that change, as I was talking about earlier, Mercury will give you the opportunity to think a bit differently on it, or have a conversation with somebody, or learn something new that can proceed towards real opening up or an awakening for wherever you may have been facing some limitations from last year's Saturn squares to Uranus too. So just don't fix your thinking, as I was saying before, and you can think outside the box a little bit more. So really, that's it. There's the weekend is very quiet too. So I will be back around that new moon in Pisces right at the beginning of March with the next installment of these lunar guides. So I hope you've enjoyed this. If you have, feel free to subscribe and share with others. And I'd love to hear from you in the comments below. Goodbye.